But now she files a civil lawsuit in the middle of the criminal case. But get this, she may actually have a decent argument based on Eric Richins' living trust, which, while controlled by his sister, was set up to, quote, provide for both my wife and our children during any time that I am incapacitated and after my death. And his will, which complies with the prenup, quote, if husband should die prior to wife while the two are lawfully married, husband's partnership interest in said business shall transfer to the wife.
It's weird though, because she has something that like she feels is going to interest people, or that's going to be just like this, make this not just a typical case. Like there's something, but I don't really know what it is. What is it that she wants to tell her money? Oh boy.
So I said there in the introduction that she actually may have a serious legal argument here. Is it possible that the court is going to interpret the totality of the circumstances and say, yeah, she should be entitled to that money?
I think there is, Dan, especially with regard to the claim to the equity in the house. Basically, she's alleging that she has some pre-existing vested interests in that home by virtue of her contributions to the down payment, contributions to mortgage payments through the years, paying utility bills, paying other expenses related to the home, and essentially saying she has an equitable right to 50% of the equity, notwithstanding any prenup or any other agreement.
Well, but putting that aside, so none of that gets impacted by the fact that she stands accused of now causing his death.
That's the interesting thing. Clearly, the claim under the prenup of the business interest, that I think is a more problematic argument, because Utah has, as does many jurisdictions, a slayer statute that essentially says if you're proven to have killed someone, you cannot benefit from your crime. You can't profit from your crime. And it's specifically geared towards documents like a prenup, a trust, a will, and so forth.
Let me play another piece of sound. This is more of KOURI Richins on Good Day, Utah, when she was promoting her book.
So you actually wrote this book with your children.
I did.
And it's only been a year. How did you process and say go from processing death to I need to write a book and help others?
You know, I just watched the struggle that my kids were going through. And I actually, I went on Amazon and Barnes & Noble and trying to find something that we could use to cope at nights. Nights are the hardest, it seems like, for everybody when, dealing with anything. But I just wanted some story to read to my kids at night. And I just could not find anything. I couldn't find anything that really, suited them or helped them find comfort and peace. And so, I was like, let's just write one.
Does any of that come into play here in evaluating whether she would be entitled to money at this point?
I don't think so, Dan. I mean, obviously, there's a distinction between the court of public opinion and a court of law. And the kinds of things that we've seen come out by way of details in this case certainly don't help her in a court of public opinion. But in a tribunal where, an impartial judge or potentially a jury is involved, I don't know that those clips would even come in.
I think you're right. I think that I think you're probably right about that. It's fascinating to watch, but as a legal matter, may not be admissible.
She did not like that she needed him, but he did not need her. I'm doing something illegal or immoral that's going to tear my family apart. She wants to be the breadwinner, and it's like a jealousy almost that like stemmed into this hatred towards him. But I'm not reading this as he was abusing her. I'm reading this as I want my cake and I want to eat it too, and you stand in the way of me doing that. What made her make the decision to do this? Six of Pentacles. She wanted his money. So she wanted his money. She wanted As I said, I want my cake and I want to eat it too. She was unhappy and wanted to leave, but didn't see a way to leave him and maintain the lifestyle that she wanted to maintain. She felt like she wasn't able to continue as is. Like, I can't keep being this unhappy and being in a position where I feel like I need you, but you don't need me. This seems very immature on her part. I mean, that seems kind of obvious, right? But like I'm saying, behind closed doors, I don't feel as though she ever reached the maturity level that her age presents her to be. So I want your money because I feel like I can't keep going on like this. I don't want to keep being unhappy. I don't feel like I can keep pushing forward, so I make a plan to betray you. I'm unhappy married and I want to be single, but if I'm single and you're alive, then I'm going to be single and broke, and I can't do that. He knew that she had tried before, and she knew that he knew. So she looked for the right opportunity and said, this time when I do it, I got to make sure that there's no way that he comes out of it. I don't want to continue to be unhappy. I want your money. I want my cake and I want to eat it too. I decide to betray you. I try to. It doesn't really work, but everything is still going to crap. And I know that you know that I tried to do this. So I need to make sure that this time it goes according to plan and that you don't wake back up. Peace after trouble. I got what I wanted. There was no love lost by his loss of life. And she wanted to make sure that if she was leaving with money, and she knew that he, especially after attempting this the first time, was not going to easily let her just take his money and leave. Like, she's like wrapped up in some fantasy of what she thinks that her life could be if she just were to easily just like get away from this. Like, she has this whole fantasy life planned out in which she's the breadwinner. That the book makes sense to me, because it's like I'm jumping into the spotlight the second I get, because I'm sick of him being in the spotlight. She just wants to, any way that she can put herself on that pedestal and knock him off of it. But it's weird, because usually when you see things like this, it's because the partner is making the other person feel insignificant or like insecure, but it's not coming from him. This is a her problem. Like, this is her problem with herself. It's like she knew that he knew, and he was piecing it together, and she was running out of time, because if he left her before she did this plan, there would be no money. The money was a main factor, because she wanted his money and to be single and to be the breadwinner. Which really, if he passed and she got his money, you're not really the breadwinner, you're just getting his money still. So dumb plan, but that's what it was, allegedly, my opinion. It just seems so strange to me that someone could so blatantly look all this stuff up, have all this evidence against them, and I don't know, just still not immediately try to plead. I don't know. It's weird to me. It's weird to me because it feels like she's up to something, and I'm trying to figure out what that could possibly be. That's why it's so weird to me, because I can feel that she's trying to put something together that she, in her mind, is like, this is it. This is it. I don't know what it's going to be, though. It's weird. It's like because I'm thinking, no matter what that was, what could it be? Because you have this evidence of her searches. So like, what could you possibly say to counteract that when it couldn't have been your husband, because he was dead during some of those searches? So we know it wasn't him. I don't know. So Queen of Wands reversed kind of makes me believe that she didn't really think she was going to get away with this anyway, and it's more about getting out of it than getting away with it, which is weird, because what does she have? 9 of Pentacles reversed, working really overly hard at something, trying to put something together. It's interesting, 9 of Pentacles is also like living beyond means, and one of her searches was for a luxury prison or something. Is it possible that she was just so unhappy? she gave up and just did this knowing that she was going to be arrested and have this new life? Like, is that a possibility? 2 cards. Ace of Pentacles. If that was the case, then this would all be part of a show that she would be kind of enjoying. Starting a new life would be the Ace of Pentacles. Page of Wands would be kind of putting on a show, displaying myself for all to see. And then the 8 of Cups here would be I was unfulfilled where I was, so I had to leave. I don't know if what I'm picking up on is conscious or subconscious, but I believe that there's part of her brain that was like, you know what, I'm unhappy, I'm done, I don't want to do it anymore. You're going to do this because either you'll get away with it or you'll get caught, and either way is fine. Like, I honestly think that that was, it got to the point in her brain where that's what it was. It was like, I know there's a high chance that if my husband dies of a drug overdose that I'm probably going to be looked into, and they're probably going to see all these searches on my phone, and it's probably not going to be good. But it was like, in her brain, that's the only option. Like, Chariot here to me would be about not reaching those goals, because I said that she wanted to be the breadwinner in the last reading. And then since then, there's been talk about her talking to people about a book deal or movie deal from jail. So it's like, I never reached the peak of what I thought I could reach. And I know that in my position in life right now with 3 kids and this husband, I know that no matter what, I'm not reaching that peak here. Queen of Swords. I want to tell my story. It almost feels like she has some kind of message for the world, right? And it's like, in her mind, she's like, no one's going to listen to me in my current reality. I'm just a regular mom. My husband is the front runner and the breadwinner, or the whatever brings home the bacon. And I just kind of am here doing more small scale, even though it's kind of bigger scale compared to other people, because she was selling houses. So it's like, not that she has just like a throwaway job. She has a career, but she still was not. It's like I'm at my peak, and my peak is nowhere near where I thought my peak could be. And I realized that this is the most of my peak that I can get to in my current reality. So I have to change it, because no one's going to listen to this story that I have to tell. She already wrote a book. She's going to write another book. But it's going to be about her. So upright, she's holding the skull up. In reverse, it would be like pushing it into the ground. It feels to me like she's atonement, growth, and deceit, but in reverse. That to me feels like I'm writing my story. I'm writing pieces of my story. I think she was seen taking notes. I almost feel like one day those literal notes are going to be like a little picture in an actual book. Like, there's something coming from this woman. I don't know what it is, but there's something. And it's something where you're going to be like, what? Like, I don't know. It's different than anything I've seen. I don't know how to, and I know that there's been like a lot of books and a lot of movies about crime cases, but this is different. I guess I would say it's a case to like keep an eye out for or pay attention to, because it's going to like go down the road, and then it's going to take some weird turn at some point where it's going to be like, what just happened? And I do think that she likely had some kind of, and I know that you could obviously guess this, but some kind of meltdown, but it's like a meltdown about not being in control. It's not a meltdown about being sad or anything. It's like this, I'm not in control and I'm struggling with it. Clarifier for that. The Emperor and the Hierophant. I'm not in control and I'm struggling with it. I'm not in control of my body. I'm not in control of my mind, really, either. Or I'm not in control of my decisions or whatever.
If the allegations against KOURI Richins prove to be true, this takes some serious gumption. Not only does she write a book about grief and go on TV to promote it, and says it's for her children who now don't have a father, but now she files a civil lawsuit in the middle of the criminal case. But get this, she may actually have a decent argument based on Eric Richins' living trust, which, while controlled by his sister, was set up to, quote, provide for both my wife and our children during any time that I am incapacitated and after my death.